Hey interwebs, Joeypals here. With gym leaders seemingly being on the way out as trial captains are now a thing, I figured we could take a look back at the previous gym leaders to see who comes out as the best of their region. Today, we'll be continuing our top 8 gym leaders of blank series, this time turning our eyes to the newest remade region, Hoenn. These characters will be ranked based on difficulty, personality, and memorability in their original games. Of course, these are only my opinions, and shouldn't be taken as the law of the land. So please, let me know how you'd rank the gym leaders of Hoenn down in the comments. Alright, enough blubber for now. Time to see who rises like a Rayquaza and flops like a feet bass. Number 8. Roxanne. I'd like to start by having you guys imagine something. Imagine you lived in the world of Pokemon, and you were 9 years old. You had to be in Pokemon classes so that you were able to get a Pokemon when you were 10. While most of your class was pretty chill, there was this one uppity girl who acted like she knew everything simply because she was in accelerated classes after lunch and her daddy owned the town. If you weren't thinking of someone along the lines of Roxanne, then I have to start improving my description skills. Out of all the gym leaders I described on this channel so far, Roxanne is the only one I actively dislike. She strikes me as very bland, while her team doesn't serve that much of a threat. In Ruby and Sapphire, Roxanne has a Geodude and Nosepass, while in Emerald, she has 2 Geodude and a Nosepass, with both Geodude being weaker than Ruby and Sapphire's 1 Geodude. Hopefully I don't have to say Geodude for the rest of this video. Anyway, Roxanne truly is at a disadvantage, especially with all the Pokemon the player can get to handle her at this point, including Lotad, Surskit, Wingull, Seedot, and Beautifly. She's not memorable, she's not challenging, and she has the personality of the economics teacher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Get back in class, honey. Let the real gym leaders play. Next up on our list at number 7 is Brawly. Whereas Roxanne is the bratty schoolgirl, Brawly is a cool skater dude who just so happens to love fighting types. Where Brawly gets major points over Roxanne is in both difficulty and personality, categories that Roxanne can't even beat Unknown in. So why is Brawly at number 7? Well, Brawly is in a region with a very strong cast of gym leaders, and unfortunately he falls in comparison to the remaining 6. That being said, Brawly is a very solid individual all around, so let's take a look at where he got things right. His gym is one of the coolest designs within a Pokemon game, and still ranks within my top listings in that category. Brawly's gym is a large labyrinth, very dimly lit. For every gym trainer you defeat, the light grows larger. The whole gym feels like an exploration as a result, and considering the town also houses a cave to the west, fits right at home. Brawly's team is also one of the hardest starting gyms you could go up against in Generation 3. In Ruby and Sapphire, Brawly carries a Machop and Makuhita while adding a Meditite with dual screens in Emerald. That Meditite team is the one that sticks out very strongly in my memory, with only my FireRed Elite 4 memories outshining it as far as my earliest Pokemon memories go. Of course, Brawly is rendered completely useless if you picked up Sableye in Granite Cave, with Pokemon like Beautifly and Wingull also doing quite well. Due to the easy workaround with Sableye, Brawly isn't nearly as frightening as he could be, making him number 7 for today. For number 6, I've chosen Lisa and Tate. These 2 gym leaders came in during the generation double battles were introduced, and their personalities perfectly capture the battle type. Lisa and Tate are some of the most prominent gym leaders mentally when I try to come up with new designs, as they are very cool in terms of look and how they act. If they're so awesome though, why number 6? Simple. While they have a standing legacy of being the only double battle gym, their teams were absolutely abysmal. At the point you reach Moss Deep, your team should be around mid-30s if not low 40s, as you're about to take on the end of a bad guy arc corresponding to your game. With that in mind, it truly comes as a disappointment that in the original 2 Generation 3 titles, Lisa and Tate only have a Solrock and a Lunatone. So while they're sitting there with their Psychic Rocks, you're rocking a full team of 6 ready to pounce on some Psychic children. Emerald helped a little bit by adding a Claydol and Xatu to their teams, but the difficulty factor simply wasn't there. While Lisa and Tate are 2 gifted children, they are not gifted enough to be effective gym leaders so late in the game. As such, they take my number 6 spot. Taking number 5 on today's countdown is the coolest flying gym leader to ever grace us with her presence, Winona. Unlike the runway strutting, ribbon twirling counterpart she has in Scala, Winona has a level head on her shoulders. She has a very strong presence on the battlefield, not posing nearly as much of an issue as Norman, but being very strong in her own right with her majestic flock of birds. In Ruby and Sapphire, she carries Swallow, Pelipper, Skirmry, and Alteria with her, adding Tropius into the mix for Emerald. What I like about her team is how it actually tries to cover its weaknesses. For example, Alteria has Earthquake, fair to take on any rock and electric Pokemon trying to knock the birds out of the sky. On the other hand, Skirmry has Steel Wing to combat the ice types the player may have somehow gotten, despite not being in that part of the region yet. It's a really nice balance structure that makes her stand out pretty well. In addition, she is the gym leader of Fortree City, the coolest town in Hoenn and arguably the best city in Pokemon at that time for sheer creativity and design. While Winona is cool and level, that's all I can really say about her personality. It's certainly not a bad personality, just bland. In comparison, this is where she lacks. Otherwise, she'd be my number 2 pick. For number 4, I'm choosing Wallace. The champion of Pokemon Emerald, Wallace is getting rated for his role in Ruby and Sapphire. While I can admire his character, and is one of the first characters I saw in the Pokemon anime, something about him doesn't really stick. This may most likely be due to his team being the most laughably easy gym battle for an 8th gym leader until Marlon in Generation 5. Remember Marlon? No one does. Anyway, Wallace's team in Ruby and Sapphire was Luvdisc, Celio, Seeking, Whiscash, and Milotic, with Milotic being the star at level 43. The problem with Wallace's team, apart from the fact that he was using Luvdisc because bish please, you don't belong here, is that it hardly had any coverage options. All the Pokemon had a water move, Celio had Aurora Beam, Whiscash had Earthquake, and Milotic had Ice Beam plus Twister. If you had a Ludicolo, Sceptile, and Manectric, or some combo of that, you'd be just fine. This gym was also a nice puzzle, and given that we had one the generation before with Price, reminding everyone a game they couldn't transfer from really wasn't the best way to go. Overall, Wallace is a pretty nifty person. He has the personality of a graceful god, he's awesome in the anime, and plays a very vital role in the story. As for his spot as a gym leader, however, I can't let him pass number 4. Also, I'll note that it was either Wallace or Juan for the 8th gym spots, and, well, comparing Wallace to Juan is like comparing a star to a campfire. Thanks for that analogy, by the way, Veriti. Now, on to the final 3. Taking 3rd place today is everyone's favorite old man, Watson. Out of all the gym leaders outside of Wallace, Watson is the one you spend the most time with thanks to the events of New Mauville. He's a very kind, happy man who sticks out mentally. Well, his text laugh anyway. His personality certainly makes him shine, but I will say it's not the strongest of the gym leaders in Hoenn. What really makes him interesting is his backstory, which goes as such according to Bulbapedia. Watson was the project leader of the Sea Mauville project under Greater Mauville Holdings. Based on the documents in Sea Mauville, Watson ended up being involved in the closure of both New Mauville and Sea Mauville due to issues involving the environment and Pokemon. Prior to the closure of Sea Mauville, Watson was under investigation by Doc for actions that Watson took to close New Mauville. That's chilling. Puts a lot of question into why he's so happy. Anyway, his team was nothing special if he had Marshtomp. In Ruby and Sapphire, he had Magnemite, Voltorb, and Magneton, while swapping out Magnemite for Electrike and Manectric in Emerald. If you didn't have Marshtomp or Combuskin, who was a solid middle option, you were in for a bit of trouble if you didn't pick up Meditite. He has one of the more annoying gym battles for gym leader, only depending on what you choose as a starter. Not a lot of gym leaders can claim this, especially as a third gym leader. As a result, he takes my number 3 spot. We're down to our final 2. These 2 remaining gym leaders are very good in their own right, but only one can be Hoenn's best. And, given this generation has your father as a gym leader, Flannery has to take number 2. There's nothing wrong with Flannery in the slightest, The only flaw she could possibly have is that she doesn't share DNA with you, and most view that as a good thing because, well, fan art. Flannery is burning hot with personality, even beating out the likes of Watson as we get a full scope of what she's like before the battle begins. Her grandfather was once an Elite Four member. She's only been a gym leader for a short time. As a result, she's slightly unconfident as she has huge shoes to fill. She really shouldn't worry though, because if you're not prepared for her team, she can wipe you flat. In Ruby and Sapphire, Flannery carries 2 Slugma and a Torkoal, while in Emerald, she drops a Slugma for a Numel and Camerupt. The Emerald team was especially potent, as not only does the entire team have added type coverage thanks to Numel's magnitude, but both Camerupt and Torkoal have Attract. And on top of that, Torkoal has a White Herb, meaning he can use the team's signature move, Overheat, twice for 0 penalty. Sporting 140 power at the time, Overheat this early in the game was still as good as using Hyper Beam, but you didn't have to recharge. While she did have massive problems against Fire's typical issues, she attempted to find ways around them. Her personality was fiery, and her team matched. She has motive and drive, something a lot of gym leaders can't claim. As such, she'll take number 2 today. Was there really any doubt about Norman being number 1 on today's list? Norman is the epitome of what Pokemon players wanted in a gym. We wanted to see our father. We wanted a challenge. We wanted an emotional moment for the main character and the father while they fought. We wanted a normal gym leader that wasn't named Whitney. Norman is all of these in a lovely package. Stern yet able, Norman is very much what a gym leader is like when I try to imagine how to describe a gym leader. He's level-headed, compassionate, determined, and never backs down while helping those below him. His team also complements this, being plenty offensive while having a good amount of defensive properties to them too. In Ruby and Sapphire, Norman carries 2 Slacking and a Vigoroth, while he swaps out a Slacking for Spinda and Linoon in Emerald. The Slacking that stayed, while no longer carrying Slack Off, is now holding a Citrus Berry and has Counter at its disposal. That counter is especially deadly given Slacking has a great amount of physical bulk, so even if you're double kicking with Combuskin or Blaziken, you will most likely die. But Slacking alone also gives Norman a great deal of power, and given he has 2 in Ruby and Sapphire, makes him quite the deadly foe to face off against. As he has the temperament to meet the job, he takes the number 1 spots. And there you guys go! That's my ranking of the Gym Leaders of Hoenn. Would you have listed them differently? Let me know down in the comments. If you like what you saw, please leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see more upcoming material. I had a question in my last main video. Username is displayed right over here, and the next question is on the screen in 3, 2, 1. Bam! Also, I'd like to note that I officially have a Twitch schedule that I'll be enforcing after this video. Starting October 24th, I'll be streaming on Twitch Monday through Wednesday for a couple hours a day. On Monday and Wednesday, I'll be starting at 2 PM Central Time while starting at 3 PM Central Time for Tuesdays. It's a very nice way to chill and hang out while I shiny hunt or play whatever game I want. If you want to follow, go ahead and click the link down in the description. Well, thanks so much for watching everyone, and I hope to see you guys Monday. Episode 6 of the LP is coming Saturday, and I'm very excited. This is Joeypals, signing out.